Hey, what's up everyone? This is Matthew Dale, here to help you play better, sound great, and understand more. And today's topic is going to be the mysterious rhythm style of Jimi Hendrix, this bridge between the lands of rhythm playing and lead playing. We're going to dive in and really take a look at the nuts and bolts of this style of playing. So buckle up and let's get ready. If you want all of the chord shapes and all of the scale shapes that I'm going to be referencing in this video, hit the link in the description below to download my chords into scales cheat sheet. This is a 100% free document, and what it does is it shows us all of our caged chords up the neck of the guitar. And then if we just add 2 notes to those chord shapes, we get a pentatonic scale. And then if we add 2 notes to that pentatonic scale, then we get major scales. So this is a fantastic way to really map the fretboard of the guitar, and it's especially important in this Jimi Hendrix rhythm style. So the overall concept of this Hendrix style of rhythm playing is really subbing in pentatonic scales for chords. So let's say we have just a sample song here of G, C, and D, where most guitar players would play these chord shapes. Jimi Hendrix would be a lot freer, and he would play off of the pentatonic scales over those specific chords. So over the G chord, he might play something that's referencing, or that's playing a little bit of G major pentatonic, and then going into the chord shape. And then over the C, same thing, but this time it's not G major pentatonic, it's not the pentatonic of the key, it's pentatonic of the chord. So that's C major pentatonic, and then D, that's D major pentatonic. So most guitar players might play something C, D, G. Jimi Hendrix might play something kind of like that. I'm playing notes around the chord shapes using the pentatonic scale and just a hint of major scale. So let's take a look at some common chord shapes and good Hendrixy fills to add around them. Let's start with this G chord shape here. Now I call this, out of caged, the E shape of the G chord, because it's derived from the open E major chord. We're just taking open E major and sliding it around. And if you want to find these a little more organically, just try to make all of your open chord shapes, C, A, G, E, and D, without the use of your first finger. So if I play E without my first finger, now that first finger is available to act as the capo or act as the bar, so I can pull this exact chord shape anywhere around the guitar. So out of this G chord, the E shape of the G chord, Hendrix would never really play this as a bar chord. He would split this in half, and he might play the top 4 strings out of this shape. Again, it's the same chord shape, I'm just reconfiguring my hand to play only, roughly half of the chord shape, or 2/3 of the chord shape. And then Hendrix would usually wrap the thumb. And the first little Hendrixy move that I like here is this brief suspended chord that he adds. Now this is coming out of the major scale, and from this chord, all we're doing is taking the third, this is the B note on the G string on the 4th fret, but more importantly, it's the 3rd note in our key of G major, or on the G major chord. And I'm just going to move it up to the 4th, which is C. And that's like taken directly out of Little Wing, right? Very Hendrix. I love doing that, all the time. Probably too much if you ask some of the people I play for. We'll see. There's a couple of other things that I like out of this shape as well. If we keep going down to the B string, we've got the 6th note. And that sounds good to kind of dovetail into this suspended 4 to 3. So this time I'm playing even less of the chord shape. You have more dexterity and more freedom to play these fills, the less chord shape you play. So in this one, I'm playing on the high E and the B strings, and I'm doing this double stop. A lot of this style as well is based around double stops. So playing 2 strings or 2 notes at a time. So here is the 2 notes out of the G chord shape, 3rd fret on the B string and E string, and I'm hammering on the 5th fret, which in our pentatonic scale or in our major scale is the 6th degree. It's an E, and I'm hammering on only on the B string. I'm leaving the E alone. So this gives us that very pianoistic sound. So you can do that independent in the chord shape, or you can dovetail it into this brief suspended chord. Let's go one further, and I'm going to add the 9th to this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And you have a much bigger lick, right? So I'm still starting in that same basic area. 3 and 3 on the B and E strings. Out of this E shape of the G major chord. Try to follow along with me if you can. I know it's a lot. And I'm just going to hammer on the E string this time. And that's kind of what he does in Little Wing as well. Although he holds the chord shape, so it's a little bit easier to grab the rest of that stuff. Now here's another popular bar chord. The A shape of our chords. This time I have it on C. So now we're going to shift our perspective. We're no longer going to think in G, we're going to think in C, because that's the chord that we're playing on. Now, out of this A shape, there's already a couple fun Hendrix things in there. This is the A shape and the A shape of the pentatonic scale in C. And I'm hammering on once again on the B string. I'm holding down 3 and 3 and hammering on the B string, but this time the notes reflect different notes in the C chord. So I'm actually hammering from the 2nd degree up to the 3rd. So this is almost like another suspended chord technique, but instead of a sus4 like G, it's a sus2 in C. And that's another very Hendrixy thing. We also have another benefit of this A shape where we can slide into what most people know as the pentatonic scale really easily. This might be referred to as shape 1, although I like playing music. I don't like playing numbers on a fretboard. So this is actually derived out of the G chord, the G open chord. So this is the G shape of the pentatonic scale. This follows caged really well as well. So C, and I can slide into that G shape of the pentatonic scale really well. And that lick in particular is again focusing around the 3rd of the chord. Hopefully by now you kind of see a little bit of a trend where we're focusing on the 3rds of the chord. 3rds really tell the story. If I just play the root in the 3rd, you can tell right away if I'm playing a major chord or a minor chord. Major, minor, minor, major, major, and major. So I like doing that, sliding up, and I'm again doing this double stop hammer on. Double stop hammering on. This time I've got 5 and 5 on the D and G held down. hammering on 7 of the D string first. That's the 6th degree, that's A. When we look at it from a perspective of C, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then I'm going down to the 3rd. Much like kind of what we were doing in G. And it's good to learn that lick kind of all over the place too. That way you have ultimate freedom of where you're playing it on the guitar. Start with one shape or start with a couple shapes and then start to take the licks you know in those shapes and put them around other areas of the guitar. So G, C, now D. This is the shape that I really like. I didn't like it at first when I learned it, but I really like it now because it seems to fit everything that I want in this Hendrixy rhythm style, just right in my hand, right in the wheelhouse of my hand. And this is actually the C bar chord shape. Now, I know what you're saying. C doesn't, do a bar chord. Well, again, if you go back to caged, or if you go back to the open C chord, make that C chord without the use of your first finger, and then put the first finger where it would be, and now we have a C bar chord shape. Now, I don't ever really play this one like that where it's, a full bar. I do play it most of the time with no bar. So on this D chord, this C shape of the D chord, I'm playing 5 on A, 4 on D, 2 on G, and then 3 on B. And if you look at my hand in this perspective, one, my wrist is completely straight. That's great for any chord. That's going to be good for technique. Then if I just lift my hand off, my hand is relatively in, something of a closed shape here. I'm not super spread out or anything like that. Once you get the hang of this chord shape, it really can be really comfortable. And again, there's our little twiddle on 6 to the 3rd. This is also a chord shape that John Mayer likes a lot. So in Slow Dancing in a Burning Room, when it goes to this E chord here, it's part of that C shape of that chord, this time on an E. So that exact lick that I played on D a second ago, I've got the chord shape held down, and I'm, again, double stopping from the 2nd and 3rd fret on the G and B. I'm going to hammer on the G string on the 4th fret, sorry. And then I'm going to go down to the D string on 4 as well. And if you want to challenge yourself and go a step further, you can do the same type of lick we were doing on G, where we do the 6th, hammer on 6, off, and then suspended 4, back to the 3rd of the chord, this time in D. And that one I reach with my pinky, so I'm playing pinky on 5, resolving to 4 on the D string, or note specific. There's the 4th of the chord resolving to the 3rd of the chord on D. So now if I take all of those ingredients and I put them together, G, C, D, G. C, D, G. And sometimes these double stops sound really cool when you slide them around as well, very R&B like. On G, that's the top strings B and E, and more importantly, it's the 5th and the root of the chord, so anywhere you can find 5 and 1, you can slide that up and down a whole step. How about C, 5 and 1 would be right there on our 5th fret, D and G string, out of our C major pentatonic, and then D it's the first and second finger, 2 on G, and 3 on the B, and you can slide that around. Now I'll incorporate that into my little jam here, so. And then you can take all of these ingredients and make your own stew out of them. This is a very exploratory and a very improvisatory style of rhythm playing, so you do need to put the work in to really get those sounds together if you want to sound fluent in this style. It's not enough just to learn a couple of licks. It really takes, putting a track on or playing in a band or playing with other people and trying some of these out. And when you first start off doing that, the simpler, the better. Just get one or two little twiddles together that you can mess around with the timing on and add into your playing organically that way. You don't want to try to do too much when you're doing this first. Start small and build on top of the things that you start with. Let me know what you guys think of Jimi Hendrix rhythm playing in the comments below. It is definitely one of my favorite styles of playing the guitar. And me personally, I actually like Jimi Hendrix rhythm style a bit more than his lead playing, but that might just be me. Let me know in the comments below. Again, if you want the chart of the chord shapes and the scale shapes that I'm referencing in this video, hit the link in the description below and you can download that chord to scales cheat sheet. My name is Matthew Dale. Play better, sound great, understand more, and I'll see you in the next one.